With the honors, Juventus and Fiorentina debuting in this new campaign. On paper, the season looks as though it could already be Juve's, even with the departure of Paul Pogba, but Fiorentina, one of those teams that would love to challenge for the throne. Bill Shane, Tancredi Palmeri with you on beIN Sports. And how does Paulo Sousa do it? It starts today. The good news is 37 more games after regardless. But this is a good test for the Viola.
It's a good test also for the nerves of Paulo Sousa. Because, see, he doesn't have any new signing in the starting 11. There is only the surprise of Federico Chiesa. Now, people want to understand. I have to tell you, this is absolutely a huge surprise. Nobody expected that in Italy and on the eve of the game. So, people want to understand, is this something in which Sousa is really believing? Or is this a message to the club, a message to the executive? Something like, you have done nothing for me with signings in this summer. And actually, if we look at what Fiorentina had signed along the summer, Dragowski, De Maio, Carlos Sanchez, which could be actually good. La Roca is on the bench, but nobody that actually could really help Fiorentina to fight for Champions League, and Paulo Sousa is ambitious. So let's see if this is pushed by frustration.
There's another legacy available on the bench as well, but the 17-year-old Yanis Hadji, one for the future, as you pointed out. Maybe Paulo Sousa shooting up a flare to find out if the owners are paying attention. The Della Valles have done a lot for Fiorentina, but you're starting to sense a little frustration. They've come close, but not even come close to lighting the cigar.
And this has already happened in the past when Montella was there. They had to make the last step to be competitive for achieving something, and the Della Valle Properties wasn't doing that last step. And as I said, Paulo Sousa is ambitious. He's thinking about the big cups, the big trophies. Fiorentina maybe might be only one step in his career towards, I don't know, big Premier League clubs.
Just moments away from the start of this one. Idemasa with the whistle in hand, just about ready to start us out at Juventus Stadium. 70 degrees, a bit of mist in the air, just adding to all of the circumstances. Pomovic along with Rodriguez and Astori along with Marcos Alonso. He'll push forward a bit. Pushing forward here though was Kwadwo Asamoah, an early charge. The foul against Badel, and it's going to be a free kick for Juve right off the bat.
20 seconds, Juve already stealing the first ball and compelling Fiorentina to this fall. Actually, maybe it would be a different moment of the game. Badeli would even been booked. Not this time, maybe just too early to start in that way. Asamoah, watch out, because you look at the starting 11 of Juventus and you see, wow, so many big guns over there. Well, guess who has been the player that in his career, among the 11 on pitch for Juventus, has scored the most? Juventus, exactly, Asamoah.
I think he gave it away there. You're not good at these quizzes. But Asamoah has been waiting for this. Last year spent so much time recovering from injuries, in and out of the lineup, had to adapt to a winning team. But at the start of this day, Evra is starting on the bench, and it's Alex Sandro and Kwadwo Asamoah on that left. Does it lead to anything?
Well, it's very offensive lineup, at least on the wings. Last year, when Alexandro was in, Allegri was defending on the right wing. This time, Dani Alves, Alexandro, no Evra.
Into the wall, and it bounces out. The rebound chipped back for the Argentine, but cleared. And now it's Fiorentina on the break, but it gets ahead of him.
Well, yes, and having Evra on the bench, deciding to go with both the Alexandro, Dani Alves, means that Juventus is changing something. We don't have to think about the usual Juventus, even if it is the 3-5-2, even if there is the Italian BBC, Barzagli, Bonucci, Chiellini, but it's changing because they had Pogba, they had Marchisio that will be back. Now probably the game will be more stretched.
Ball driven in towards the penalty spot. Nice idea, but intercepted. Alonso forced to retreat. Long ball forward, looking for Mandzukic, but intercepted. And now a collision, maybe unintentional, but then again, Normally, opposition screams when they get too close to Gonzalo Rodriguez. So at the moment, Juve down a man. Dybala and Kalinic, the two players to watch today. Much attention on the 22-year-old Argentine, but Kalinic, especially first half of the season last year, Tancredi, vital for Fiorentina. When he slowed down, so did the Viola.
Yes, indeed. 5 million euros, approximately what Kalinic was paid, and everybody was, all the other clubs were in buying Fiorentina, because in an historical moment where it is very hard to find a good striker, someone that can secure for you at least 15 goals per season, while Kalinic seemed to be the next big thing, but then I would say denounced all the limits that anyway he has. He's good, but obviously he's nobody like 20 million.
Looking at the bench, and 3 of the expected players that would have looked quite in place in a starting lineup chipped away. Got the Rational and lifted up and over the crossbar, almost buried by Sami Khedira.
Tatarusanu has never been that good with feet, and honestly, it's more the fault of the Fiorentina's defense. If you know that you don't have exactly Manuel Neuer there at the back, and there are 3 Juventus players putting pressure on you, just throw it away. Don't feel ashamed of it.
Well, one of the reasons they don't have a goalkeeper that is good with his feet is because the Brazilian they had last year is now backing up on Juve.
Yeah, Neto decided 2 summers ago, well, last summer, to go to Juventus and to wait for the moment when Buffon will retire. Good luck, Neto, for that.
Yeah, he's only 38. Could have another decade in front of him based on last year.
Hopefully, let me say it's an Italian, hopefully.
Khedira lifted Alexandro. Dybala does well to shield. Down by Alves, but Juve forced to retreat. Again, Buffon, Masali, Bonucci, Chiellini. Alves and Alexandro down the flanks with Lemina, Khedira, and Asamoah in support of Dybala and Mandzukic. There's a good look at Marcos Alonso, the Real Madrid youngster, come into his own last season. One of the revelations for Fiorentina. Alves to Khedira, Barca to Real. If you look at the resumes, out wide, Alexandro. A lot of purple in front of him. Chiellini lifting it. Overhead volley to keep it alive. Mandzukic contorting that big frame. Now Bonucci. How vital is it for Juve? Not so much in Serie A, because with players the likes of Rugani available on the bench, and even Lichtsteiner can slide to the inside. But if you want to compete for a Champions League crown, can Juve do it without a Bonucci?
No, they can do it without Bonucci, but I would tell you also without Barzagli, because it's true that Bonucci's skills to start the building up are unmatched. But Barzagli has been the backup for everybody else last season when Chiellini wasn't for part of the season on the pitch, and when Bonucci wasn't that reliable. Barzagli is like just a miracle ongoing. You can't believe that he's getting older, he's getting better than the year before, and consider that a couple of years ago he was on the verge of retiring because of injuries.
Mandzukic inside, past Tomovic, the run just a little late from Asamoah, trying to keep it in play. Alexandro on the far side, 7th minute, it's Fiorentina ball.
It's a bit different this season, because last season when Fiorentina in December came to play at the Juventus stadium, Juventus were already out of their crisis, but Fiorentina were the only one of the very few along the season to put a real threat to Juventus at the Juventus stadium. Now, at least for the first 7 minutes that we are watching, Fiorentina are choked. And look at this.
Again, Ilicic forced backwards, and Fiorentina under pressure. That's something we have to give credit to Max Allegri for. And last year, perhaps, maybe a crowning moment, not just in winning the championship, but the way the season started. Everyone talked about when he stepped in for Conte, well, look at the team that was handed to him. But last year, as we look at Carlos Sanchez on the Fiorentina bench, getting off to an historically poor start, and then to end up bouncing back to win the title running away, a lot of credit to Allegri.
Yeah, there are 2 keys. One technical and one, I would say, psychological key in the change. The technical is when he swapped from the 4-3-3 man defense to the 3-1s because he understood that was the best option, because the veterans of the teams told him we just feel more comfortable in that way. And on the other side, he never lost the plot. He had never lost the calmness, the quietness. He was always looking in control. We don't know if he really was, but he was giving that idea also to his players.
Nice ball, Dybala charging in, but scrambling back in time. Bernardeschi lifted back across the 6, bounces up off the arm of Astori, but unintentional, says the referee. Despite the whistles from the stands, none on the field. Driven into the 6, deflected, bounces off of Tatarusanu. He's got to feel like the duck in a shooting gallery right now with Juventus on fire.
Tatarusanu, so we should call him probably. See, they have one option at Fiorentina that nobody else, or at least very few have. Surely Juventus don't have. That option that I'm talking about is Josip Ilicic, the Slovenian wizard. Now, I know that you have a man crush on Ilicic. I don't want to make it so personal, but he's someone that can really turn around even a situation like this when you are choked in your half. But just the midfield line is staying too back, it's too tight to defense, and it's very hard to come out.
The legacy Chiesa, the son of the legendary Enrico, wearing the 25, off to Ilicic and back to the back line. Adel finds the Slovenian as Fiorentina. In many ways, it might not seem like much just passing into the midfield, but it's trying to take Juventus off the boil.
Yeah.
Alinic, the return pass deflected, Badel challenging, but Chiellini snuffs it out.
He should stretch a bit more the game. As we said, they are very offensive on the wings. Here there is the replay. It looked like it was a deflection, and maybe they just didn't have the time to realize, not even that they were going to touch the ball. They should stretch more the game. Dani Alves, Alexandro, so offensive. I know it's not easy, but they are leaving space there behind, and it's in those 15-20 meters ahead of Barzagli and Chiellini that Fiorentina can try to do something.
Here's Jussi Mandzukic, and again another body flying around with Gonzalo Rodriguez in the area. Appeals for a handball, and it does come off the hand, but it would be hard pressed to say that there was any intent.
Yeah, it seemed like he was moving the arm to find the balance, and he was surprised by the deflection. We just must remind that it's all happening in such a short moment, so it's we can discuss and debate. We have the time to do it. Watching replays and replays, it's not like that on the pitch.
Up to the Spaniard. Alonso chipping it forward. Could be a chance here for Kalinic, but look at Bonucci.
Good luck with that also, but wait.
Buffon under pressure. Not bad for a 38-year-old. Up the line for Asamoah. Good pressure by Fiorentina. They're going to win it back.
Carlos Sanchez still didn't have a chance to come on pitch. As I said, it's probably the only relevant signing for Fiorentina. If, like today, La Viola would want to line up always something so offensive, maybe it will be very useful. I watched him live at the Copa America last year in Chile, and it was unbelievable. Kind of a small Yaya Touré, even if without the offensive skills of Yaya Touré.
Trying to steal it back. Ilicic screaming at the referee. Won't make a difference, though. Now up the line, Alves. Khedira trying to create some space, but what a tackle.
Was already gone since 1 year. And we know that Khedira, whenever he's getting in the box, is always being painful for the other. So as long as his physical condition is supporting you, he can even find even more goals than in the past season.
Alexandro elects to play it cautiously back to Chiellini. Moment. Ball past Dybala. Asamoah tries to lift it up over Gonzalo, but can't. A lot of fans may be disappointed when they walked into the stadium and saw the starting lineup, thinking about some of the new faces. But I guarantee in the dressing room, even the newcomers, while they might be disappointed not to start, can appreciate the fact that you have to earn that position. Nice little touch by Ilicic, but nothing comes of it.
Well, if you compare the start of Juventus with the start of the past season, when they actually have lost the first game against Udinese, and they didn't play really bad, but it seemed like the attitude wasn't really someone who was focused to do the job since the very first game. And this tells you probably how much they have learned. Allegri has always had bad starts with his teams, but with Juventus has been up and down. The first season, 12 points in the first 4 games, and then in the past season they almost seemed to fight for relegation after 1 month and a half. So probably he learned, the whole team learned from that experience. And this is not sending a good message to all the other competitors already after 14 minutes.
Corner kick for Juve will swing away from the Romanian. So Borja Valero up in the stands. If healthy, he might be out there in place of Bernardeschi. With a good tackle, driven to the top of the 18. Settling, Alves shoots it into the wall and it bounces away. Didn't see much of that shot the last few years at Barca, but he had it in his arsenal at Sevilla, and now dribbling his way into danger and dispossessed. Ilicic off to Chiesa. Everyone watching the kid. The 18-year-old tries to cut to the inside, but off of Asamoah and out. Father spent some time with Fiorentina in his prime. Scored 34 goals over a 3-year span. Also a member of the Azzurri 22 times.
A fantastic time, Chiesa, with Fiorentina. Unfortunately, then was stopped by a pretty serious injury. It looked like it could become one world star, actually.
Stori steps up, the ex-Milan center back. Coming in from Roma by way of Cagliari. Ilicic riding the challenge off to Alonso.
It's just too slow.
Hanging the ball high, Tomovic. Bobbled by Buffon, but he jumps on top of it before Chiesa can pounce.
It's just a too slow building up so far for Fiorentina. And if you have to play with transitions, because Juventus is not leaving you so much time, you can't really allow yourself that. Obviously, they miss Borja Valero.
Zarate as well, not to mention Giuseppe Rossi. So their cupboard is not bare, even if maybe not some new items on it to Paulo Sousa's liking. In for Bedell and back for Astori. Paulo Rodriguez. He's been around forever. From San Lorenzo through Villarreal, and now it seems like he's been at Fiorentina for a decade, but he's still only 32. Never capped.
You sure there is no work from him at the Uffizi? No, from Rinascimento is there?
Oh, trickles into the path of Chiesa. Not a bad idea, but Kalinic couldn't come out on the other end.
You mentioned Giuseppe Rossi. It's interesting to see what will happen, because nobody honestly expected that he could be still with Fiorentina by 20th of August. We'll see if Paulo Sousa will give him a chance. There are some destinies, some careers, some things, some decision that happens only for some lucky strike, some lucky episode, and honestly, Rossi didn't have any luck in his career. Maybe he might come in and doing good, and Fiorentina could change the mind and not selling him before the deadline.
Has luck, it's bad. The kid from Teaneck, though, never giving up. Ball slips away from Barzagli. Chiesa couldn't control. Here's Dybala, who's been quiet of late. Finds Asamoah. Ball pops up on him, having to turn the other way. Alexandro. An afterthought last year following his move from Porto, but getting the start on opening day. Read anything into that?
Yeah.
Considering Evra played very well.
Yep, he's not getting any younger, nobody is. But last year, Alexandro, the few times he came in, it was always decisive. Obviously, need to be...
And blasted up and over, no problem for Fiorentina.
Obviously, he needed to be more disciplined on a tactical side. 1 year with Juventus, with Allegri, has changed that. The fact that against a tactically smart team like Fiorentina, anyway, Allegri is taking the risk, if we can call it that risk, to line up Alexandro since beginning. Maybe it is telling about something about the hierarchy that have changed in Juventus.
Sano sending it long. Coming back Kalinic, but couldn't control. 20th minute. Sali getting ready to put this one back. 250 miles separates these two. Fiorentina making the trek northwest to Turin. I mentioned a beautiful day to play. 70 degrees, a bit of chill in the air, considering the heat wave that is going through much of Europe. Well handled. Story off to Alonso. Managed with some help in the middle. Dani Alves scrambling back. And Fiorentina opts for possession. Carolina taking on the Indy 11 tonight in NASL play. 7:30 p.m. kickoff from Carolina. 4:30 Pacific. Check it out on bnsports.com as well.
Talking about numbers, there are some rough 145 millions of euros sitting on the bench for Juventus at the moment. Higuain, Piazza, Pjanic, 145 millions of euros splashed.
Good look at Rossi and Matigol. Of course, what's even more impressive for Juventus is how many of those millions after these sales are sitting in the bank account. There might not be a club that does business better than Juve.
No, absolutely not. Barzagli, just mine, came for free. Bonucci came not for free, but in a time when everybody was tipping Ranocchia to be the next centre-back for Italy, and it was not.
And of course, Pogba practically free, and they sell him on for 100 million profit.
Yeah, approximately. We will never know exactly the right figures.
For Dybala, pops and it drops, but he shoots it wide.
Dybala himself, that came for 40 millions. It seemed too much last year, and probably if they would sell him, they won't obviously, but if they would like to do that, he would already go for some 70 millions of euros at least.
Tevez who? 22nd minute. Again, Juventus has been on the front foot. Fiorentina trying to slow things down. Another poor pass out of the back from the Romanian, but it does find a mark. And now bursting forward, Chiesa. Federico with a touch of speed, but not as fast as Alves. And definitely not as fast as Alves' mouth. But a few words in passing.
It's interesting also how Lemina will perform. We see he's taking exactly the Marchisio position with no shame to do that. He's tracking back to receive the passage, to receive the ball, and then starting the building up. That would be the best signing for Juventus.
Lost into the air just over Mandzukic. Lemina getting a chance in the starting lineup, just at the edge of the area. Dybala sees the pass go awry. Out to the midfield, and Chiellini stops the break single-handedly. And it looks as though he's used 2 of his 3 lives. De Massa saying next one's a card.
The cat Chiellini. So. But probably the booking that Massa saved for Fiorentina at the beginning, he gave at the same meter with Juventus and with Chiellini. So 1-1 now. End of the nice warm-up. The next one is going to be the yellow one for both of them.
Lemina played 10 games last year for Juventus, and even though he does have the bleached blonde hair a la Pogba, different style player, he has some of those tricks in his arsenal, but tends to be a lot more of a get it, give it kind of player.
Yeah, absolutely. It was exactly against Fiorentina that he showed to Allegri that he could have been reliable enough to start from the beginning. Obviously, for this kind of young players, the main issue is being consistent along the 90 minutes. It was the issue also for Paul Pogba until approximately a season ago. So the good start is there, but now he's pumped, he's hyped because he was picked in the starting lineup in the first game. Probably will tell more about his consistency the second half.
Asa marking this one off.
Why Pirlo's not gonna take this? Ah, sorry.
This is interesting. Dani Alves. No Messi on the receiving end. Dybala there as well, and it might actually be set up more for the Argentine, but it will be the Brazilian sending it over Chiellini. Alonso at the back post clears. Alexandro, deflected cross. Tomovic trying to handle it, bringing it down Bonucci, but collides with Chiesa. Out for Lemina. And if that was intentional, you might want to think again.
That is what in Italy we call ciabattata, a shot taken with a slipper.
And then back to Chiellini.
One thing is marking the difference between the two. The pressure that Juventus do 1 second after losing the ball, and the pressure that Fiorentina don't do when Juventus got the ball.
This is the second match of the new campaign. Earlier today you caught Roma against Udinese, and boy did Udinese get caught. A couple of penalties did not help. It was actually scoreless at the hour mark. But then Perrotta stepped up after 2 fouls, then Dzeko and Salah putting it out of reach. So a convincing start from what many think is Juventus's most serious rival. Fiorentina in that group just below. Driven long by Bedell. Who else do you think is going to legitimately challenge? Post Higuain, does Napoli have anything left?
Obviously Napoli got a lot left, and I believe that the signing they are doing are good, not good enough obviously to win the league. The main asset for Napoli is Maurizio Sarri, the manager that revived actually Higuain, and so they know exactly how they have to play, where are their teammates, and working for 2 years with the same manager is obviously being something that will give you huge advantage over the others. But the problem is that the comparison is with Juventus. It's the 6 of the best starting 11 of the last year, plus Pjanic and Higuain, the best player of your 2 competitors. It's pure football trolling, that one.
Chiesa finding a little hole after the slip by Khedira. Chiesa in the box, and then Chiellini again. So close for the kid. Lemina tries to dribble around, but Ilicic playing some defense. That might be a first.
Look at him. Ilicic, I have to say, he doesn't have good press. Look this cross.
Knocks it in, but it just skips away from Marcos Alonso.
Doesn't have a good publicity, Ilicic, but I have seen him running way more than people think. He just got this attitude that looks like he's the prince that is not gonna dirty his socks to run around, but he actually always cheering up his, well, as a Slovenian can do it anyway, but cheering up his teammate is helping a lot. Obviously, last year in this 3-4-2-1, he was playing, having on the other side Borja Valero, and talking about football with Borja Valero is different than doing with Federico Chiesa, with all the due respect, but it's just starting today.
Don't forget, start your day off tomorrow from the Czech Republic. It's MotoGP, 4:50 a.m. All flipped on by Khedira. Another player trying to get off to a healthy start like Asamoah. Reclaimed by Bonucci. Lemina sprinting a bit. Ilicic staying with him in the center of the screen. But that just opens the door for Khedira. Alves. First touch got away. Alonso forces him back. Lemina has the potential. There's still the Storados and the likes in the mix, but will allow Marchisio to move up a bit, back to his more normal central position. Read it in for Asamoah, but just missing the big man.
Well, Marchisio is the boss, is the owner. He's not someone like that should feel afraid of not finding back his place when he will be finally fit. But if Lemina will be reliable, this is giving one huge important option to Massimiliano Allegri, that last season started with Hernanes. It's not a coincidence that Hernanes was not even barely considered to start in this game, because it's never been reliable, never been consistent, and that is the key. That position is the key for many teams, but especially for Juventus.
Lemina does well to win that one away from Chiesa and start a break the other way. Burst of speed from the Brazilian. Big switch towards Mandzukic. Chalo Rodriguez able to get it away from danger briefly. Dybala to Alves. Marcos Alonso spinning around, tries to grab Dybala, and he does just enough to throw him off. Dybala's shot spins wide. Just take a look how hard it is to mark him.
Yeah, we might have seen a glimpse of something that will drive crazy the Juventus competitors along the season, because when Dani Alves is shifting gear and something that Dybala is able to do very well, that is something that is, I mean, he's accustomed to play at a different pace in Barcelona, and that's just something that nobody else have in Serie A.
Same point, the kid from Instituto has been described by some as the next Messi, and you saw a little bit of it there on that spin. And so much credit obviously to Barcelona's emergence with Messi, but it was the arrival of Dani Alves from Sevilla that gave him that foil, that gave him that person to play off of, that helped Messi adjust. And one of the big reasons Juventus went out to get Alves.
So you mean Dani Alves came to Turin to give him his blessing?
The Pope was busy. Lichtsteiner not getting any younger, but smart move, at least at the moment. Down goes Khedira. Quick thinking from Alves, but Fiorentina threw bodies in the way.
Half an hour and Fiorentina didn't have not even something that looked like a chance. Nothing. Well, they barely played in the half of Juventus.
Chance here for Mandzukic, but just poked free by Astori. 7 shots for Juventus. Absolutely none for Fiorentina. Possession 63% for Juve. 16% of the time has the ball been near the Juventus goal. Paulo Sousa might be doing as much running as the 11 on the field. Astori over to Tomovic. Versatile player, the Serbian. Pretty much anywhere on the back line or the central midfield. 28-year-old from Genoa.
There's clearly something missing in the middle for Fiorentina. They receive the ball from defense. They are too slow to playing it wide or close or any way to dribble the Juventus player that is putting pressure at the moment. That is just leaving the space to Juventus to come up easily, to put 2, even 3 sometimes players on who's playing the ball for Fiorentina, and in this way it's very hard to go anywhere.
And so keeps it in, barely walking the tightrope. Chiesa for Ilicic, who reaches back, but then Bonucci in the way. Keeping the ball in the Juve end, the tackle from Alonso. Well, as you mentioned, the player who could resolve that is up in the stands, unfortunately, and not dressed in Borja Valero. And even the creative players available on the bench, the likes of Ateo, Fernandez, Zarate, more comfortable further upfield. Fiorentina not really getting the ball upfield.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe even if he doesn't have, is not solid to stand for 90 minutes, maybe Paulo Sousa might think about bringing in Mati Fernandez. He's the only one that can help at least to ease the way for Fiorentina to bring the ball a bit more high, because really after they get to the midfield line, they just become helpless.
To Marseille, the forgotten man of that back three. Vital since coming over from the Bundesliga. Hangs in the air, Alves. Khedira couldn't get it. Alexander.
There was anybody coming from behind.
There was Badel actually cutting inside the Spaniard.
Just taking a bit of time, resting, giving time to Fiorentina to breathe.
Well, good workmanlike as we take a look at Hernanes just over the shoulder. Workmanlike central mid. As you mentioned, Carlos Sanchez, maybe, I think that might be his hair there in the middle, but Sanchez may be a bit better passer out of the back.
We've seen Massimiliano Allegri talking with his assistant Marco Landucci, former historic Fiorentina goalkeeper. I had the chance to watch a couple of games sitting just beside Allegri. It's a continuous talk with Landucci. Very rarely I saw a manager talking so much with his assistant. Guardiola, for example, is one that is doing that a lot.
Allegri always comes across stoic and quiet, it seems. There's a lot bubbling up, and sometimes it bubbles over. A lot of questions when he stepped in for Conte. You don't hear them much anymore. And so shepherds it across. There's plenty more action coming your way throughout this opening weekend of Serie A. Check out beInSports.com for more particulars, but some intriguing matchups. Empoli against Sampdoria, two teams that maybe could challenge for a Europa spot. Sassuolo doing well in Europe with a big win over Red Star. They'll open up at Palermo.
But especially the comeback of Mihajlovic in San Siro. And knowing Mihajlovic, he will feel that a bit.
Samoa back. Sliding back Vecino to help cover. Omovic forces the drop. Dybala. Chiellini threads it in. The header by Khedira. ABC, just like that, and Juve's in front.
Didn't we mention that Khedira could have got more goals in this season because he was actually the midfielder most entitled to break into the box? Exactly happened that. If you look at that cross that came from the left, they're not putting any pressure, Fiorentina. They are not doubling on who's throwing the ball in. They're just letting all the time to Juventus, Chiellini, to put the ball exactly where he wants. Where are you going? Where do you want to go in that way?
And the other thing to consider, I think this was by design. They waited for the moment when he was matched up with the 18-year-old Federico Chiesa, whose only job defending there was to point at Khedira's back and say, mark him.
Yes, indeed. But for that reason, if you know that you have a teammate that has to learn still, so you have to back him with some of the... you have to work with him, you have to double with him, you have to push him for pressuring, showing him even how to do it, and there was nothing like that. Honestly, Fiorentina are playing in a way that is unusual for them, like someone that is defending the nil-nil, which actually now is not existing anymore.
Right again, Alexandro. Ilicic steps in, finds Lemina, flips it up, but a little too eager. Despite a rough season last year, his debut with Juve, still finished with 5 goals, did Khedira.
Look this, 3 men putting the pressure up there on the edge of the box. There is no chance for Fiorentina to come out of that. Tatarusanu is compelled to throw an high ball. Kalinic to get an impossible ball to get. Must do foul, getting even the yellow card, going nowhere in this way.
You could even see, talking about that pressure, even Mandzukic was taking away the options for the simple pass. That was really the only option for Tatarusanu. Arm comes up, maybe making a bit more of it than it was, but Bonucci puts Kalinic in the book. Still thinking back to the first times I've seen Sami Khedira back in his Stuttgart days, and he was a central mid, but more of an attacking one. It was when he went to Real Madrid, and especially under Mourinho, that he got that reputation of basically just being a water carrier. In his days in Stuttgart, he knew how to score, and he shows he hasn't forgotten.
And even in last summer, the Euro Championship, he had more responsibility in running into the box, obviously until then he was fit. But Joachim Löw realized how important he could be there in the midfield, since Schweinsteiger was no more an asset for Germany.
Big switch near side. Alves settles, turns inside past Chiesa. Probing, poking, looking for weaknesses. Laid off for Dybala. Dances around the challenge. The shot deflected and finally cleared back upfield by Vidal. Vecino pinballing around, trying to stay in front of the young Argentine. Alexandro in towards Khedira again. Cleared away. Falls right to the feet of Dybala, but his shot sails high.
I don't know how good is Juventus or how bad is Fiorentina, because the way they are playing is absolutely frustrating. As I said, very seldom we have seen something like this from the Paulo Sousa side. And as we mentioned before the game started, I wouldn't want that this is like sending out a message to the club saying this is who we are at the moment, so you should move up, you should do something.
Tina flat and flat-footed. In some ways fortunate it's only a one-goal lead for the champions. Back to Buffon. Kind of like an albatross, Buffon. Never looks graceful until he's in midair. It's so smart. Paulo Sousa already looking to the bench.
Because you thought that he likes Coleridge, but he's actually everlasting. 2 years more, at least, we have from Buffon. 2 years more. So enjoy every game where you see him on the pitch. Unless he will hopefully change mind after Russia 2018.
Action in Serie A continues tomorrow. Mentioned Milan-Torino is one of those games. You can follow it right here on beIN Sports. Kicking off 11:30 a.m. Ball into the sixth. Kalinic unable to bring it under control. No problem for Buffon. And again, having second thoughts, but no real pressure, unlike what Juve has done down on the other end. Khedira trying to flick it with his back. Turns, ball won back by Alonso. Now through to the young Uruguayan Vecino.
Look this, when the three in the middle for Fiorentina are having the ball, the other up front, so Ilicic, Kalinic of course, even Federico Chiesa, they're just swallowed into the line between midfield and defense. They lose the ball again.
Had no options, just a blind pass that's taken away.
Just repeating and repeating. They have how to play the ball quicker, or the front line must be more tight, more closer to the midfield, because in this way they're not going to find any space, and they're actually making it even too easy. Looks even too easy, too much easy for Juventus.
11 straight at home without allowing a goal for Juve, and little sign that Fiorentina is going to crack that dam just yet. Yellow card by Vecino. And time at Empoli last season on loan, the ex-Nacional midfielder. And as you take a look, that's something Dybala is so good at. There really wasn't much there. Vecino did reach out in frustration, but Dybala puts his body in front and now puts a yellow card on Vecino's neck.
And had an open way for him to bring the ball, which again
if
is
he wasn't knocked down.
Yeah, which is stressing again how the players, the Fiorentina players, are just playing too far one from the other.
Nice little touch from Alves, but Khedira caught flat-footed. Alonso out to Astori. Tried to get the ball to Badel, but taken away. Quick touch Mandzukic. Alexandro high to the near post, but off target. Had help inside, but went for glory.
Forgiving. Look there. So much space. You actually have even a bit more of time to look at Tataruzano, to look at the goal. Probably that would have helped.
And if you take a look, there were two men wide open for a drop pass. If Fiorentina finds a way to equalize this in the second half, Alexandro is going to have some answers to give.
What we are seeing here is interesting because obviously, even for the price that has been paid, Higuain has to start. But the work that Mandzukic is doing, is Higuain able to do it in the right way, in that way? Because he was having around Napoli playing for him back in Naples. So can Juventus adapt also to Higuain? Obviously he has to adapt to Juventus, but can Juventus also adapt to El Pipita?
Allegri parking instructions. Dani Alves seemed to be caught in two minds, but well covered by Barzagli. 3 minutes to be added. 3 minutes for Fiorentina to level or for Juve to pull away. Oh, just the one. Rossi saying how he would have done it. Rodriguez off to Astori. Playing out the string with a half-minute left. With 3 wins in the last 34 meetings for Fiorentina against Juve. And they'll need to play much better in the second half if they're going to get another. Eyes and ears on the Ville Massa as the first half winds to a close. Despite the dominance of Juventus from the run of play, only the single goal to show for it. 63% possession, but it's Khedira's goal that makes the difference. 1-0 Juve at the break.
Well, something must change, obviously, from Paulo Sousa. Maybe he could bring Mati Fernandez, as we mentioned, but it's not only about having new men, having new blood on the pitch. It's about changing attitude.
Well, we've got another 45 minutes to go from Turin. Juve with a nose in front as the La Liga, or the Serie A season, underway.
Excuse me, I think there's a misprint.
Oh, model year-end clearance event.
Bit of a crazy summer for Juventus, but it is off to a good start. And to this point, Gonzalo Higuain is going to have to wait to start his Juventus career. Has not been involved in the scoreboard, but Mario Mandzukic has been involved in the attack. Bill Shane, Tancredi Palmeri with you, and Tancredi looking at the Viola coming onto the field. Not quite sure if you look at the bench if there's a magic answer there. It seems more to be the fact Paulo Sousa needs to find the on switch.
Yeah, not at all. As we said, maybe Mati Fernandez for the way Fiorentina could play in a different way. Maybe Babacar to give more speed.
One change already coming in, and Iesa's debut is done, and Zarate will step in. So more experienced creator, but it was deeper, even getting possession and turning it upfield, that made a difference.
Cristian Tello. Yeah, Cristian Tello, I mean, could be more defensive than Federico Chiesa. Definitely, he's more defensive than Federico Chiesa. So we might see a switch, maybe to 3-5-2. We'll see.
Second half underway. Cristian Tello, more of a wing player. Ball driven in towards the spot. The deflection despite the attempt by Rodriguez, but Dybala in pain. The two Argentines arrived with the ball sandwiched in between, and Dybala comes out the worse. And Higuain, just like that, pops up off the bench. Might have taken the point of Rodriguez's toe.
Yeah, it was unlucky in the challenge. There was no intention from Rodriguez to harm Dybala. So he's standing there. Seems like Fiorentina is keeping the 3-4-2-1.
Pressure. Chiellini there to haul it in. Straight to Asamoah, who gets run over in the process. A lot of questions on this Juve side to start the season. Khedira answering with a goal. Asamoah has looked dangerous. Alves and Alexandro down the flanks have been quite involved. Lemina as well, comfortable in the midfield. Fiorentina really has not tested them much. In fact, the first time in more than a decade, they have been held without a shot in the first half. Chiellini with a little push on Alonso.
Samoa maybe the most surprising thing, because in some way everybody was expecting Lemina to step up, but Asamoah, nobody saw anything anymore from him of what was expected since he left in 2013 for the African Cup and came back, and Antonio Conte said we just had a different player coming back, and Asamoah was never shining anymore.
Alonso coming in, cleats flashing, and catches by Saghi in the process. Massa making it obvious there will not be a caution, but letting him know how close he came.
It's a bit too wide, I have to say, with left leg.
35 years of age. Bonucci, the young pup, at 29. In Italy, they like them with a bit of gray. 49th minute. Alves sends it towards the back post. Khedira again sends it towards the spot, but everyone had run. Fiorentina able to clear, and Asamoah with a nice touch.
Let's see if now Fiorentina can bring up pressure in some way, can bring up the midfield line a bit. Because this is the first time that actually, after 3 minutes and a half in the second half, 3 minutes of half in the second half, Fiorentina could play or try to play at least the ball in Juventus half.
Sheo with those red boots on did not start today, perhaps because the transfer, the loan from Barcelona, didn't happen until quite recently. Ball in again, Mandzukic, but trying to go over the top of Tomovic. Goal kick.
It doesn't look good again for Fiorentina. Again, this cross came too easily. The position of Mandzukic, fairly good only at the end, but they just get down in Fiorentina box and lost ball. They just get down into Fiorentina box too easily.
Up on Asamoah. Fiorentina can't make anything of it as Lemina able to step up quickly. Good ball, Alexandro. Asamoah squares, but behind Mandzukic. Might have taken a touch. Lemina again. And why not have a go? Although that one just went. It seems hard to imagine, but Fiorentina seems to have come out of the second half even flatter than they went into the first.
It's hard. It's strange because knowing Paulo Sousa, he would have get way more reaction. But I don't know if we can find a path between this start of the second half and the suspect at the beginning of the game that we had about his lineup being the mirroring how unhappy he is of the politics of what Fiorentina has done in this summer.
Did well at Basel a couple of seasons ago, building on what that Swiss side had become. Bit of a surprise last season, especially first half, where it actually appeared as though Fiorentina might have had a chance to finally claim a Scudetto, thanks to Juventus's collapse, but second half was a different story.
Everybody collapsed, but you couldn't expect more. Fiorentina was playing above their real possibilities, and actually Paulo Sousa was even thinking a lot about Europa League, and tried hard. He just was very unlucky to be drawn against Tottenham, the best Tottenham of last 50 years probably. So they were doing a small miracle till January, but didn't last.
Milovic to Theo. They were pinching in a lot, but now back out on the flank. And for Vecino. Only player with a caution at the moment.
It's like now it's just briefing a bit.
Back for Vecino. Now tries to slow him down, and teams with Dybala to force the turnover. Mandzukic might have taken a kick to the calf.
Third yellow could come for Gonzalo Rodriguez. Let's see.
Referee let advantage continue. See those 3 stars in the chest, each for 10 championships. The only team that can claim those 3 stars, even though they might say they deserve a bit more.
Here comes Piazza, at least warming up. A very talented, intriguing winger, but someone that can also play as internal midfielder, and Juventus might actually want to change his position to that, because they need more that position. The limits for Piazza, as for a youngster like that, obviously are unwritten, are unknown. Someone even used the comparison with Savicevic. I don't know how much blasphemy.
ASL coming your way later today, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. Indy visiting Carolina. Juventus visiting Lazio in their next encounter. Fiorentina will open their home campaign against Chievo Verona. Zamora again. Barzagli. Mala tried to flick it on. Barzagli comes in to clean the deck, and that will be the first caution against Juventus.
It's getting very angry, which is not common for Barzagli. You see that from Bonucci, from Chiellini. Actually, he might be right, because he's going straight to the ball.
There was some contact, but you could say it was both players.
Yeah, maybe it was Kalinic that was, playing wide with the left leg, almost waiting for the contact. You can still give the foul, but maybe Barzagli got some reason to get angry that way. And as I said, we aren't used to see players always protesting. Barzagli is not that kind.
And again, protesting, you got to be cautious, especially with the new laws of the game. Referees given a lot more freedom and encouragement to pull out the cards. First caution against Juve, 2 against Fiorentina, driven by Ilicic. Finds the head of Rodriguez, but he can't get on top of it. How long a leash does Paulo Sousa have? As you mentioned, he's not happy by the inaction in the transfer market, but might that be a sign that the Fiorentina bosses aren't that sold that he's the guy to make the calls?
Actually, Paulo Sousa had offers along the summer, especially from Zenit, where actually financially pretty good. Fiorentina, though, are very tough negotiators. Look what happened with Montella to get rid of the releasing fee from his contract at Sampdoria. So they wanted to continue with Paulo Sousa. Also, they didn't have better options to put on the bench. But probably this is just the limit of what Fiorentina can do. And not getting the Champions League for so many years has probably affected the will of investing from the team.
Which spotted the run of Kalinic. See a little of the frustration as he collides with Bonucci, but ball straight to Buffon and over to Barzagli, and up comes Juve the other way. Last time these two teams met was back in April in Florence in a 2-1 Juve victory. Of course, the comeback was well underway at that point.
Look again, midfield is swallowed in between the Juventus lines. Very hard to play. Bernardeschi now has to track back. So
but normally the way you would handle that is go out to the wings. It just takes Fiorentina so long to get there that Juve can recover.
Exactly, indeed. And it is predictable. Everybody can spot where the ball will go, and it's not going there any quicker. So look now on Ilicic, that, as we said, could be the one that could actually create something. That were Lemina, Khedira and Dybala ready to put pressure. Free on the only playmaker, we can say.
And that was a good idea by Teo, but a poor pass. Now pressuring Lemina. Barzagli is going to get there. Ilicic just a little late. But it does force the turnover. Can Fiorentina make something of it? Alonso trying to get around Khedira. Chips it high. Bernardeschi giving chase, the young Italian international. For all the dominance of Juve, for all the problems of Fiorentina, it's still just one goal.
That's very true. Might be one reason why maybe Allegri could decide to bring in Higuain, that he is warming up. But there was a reason why we saw Paulo Sousa screaming. He was exactly saying that after that corner kick that Fiorentina missed. Was screaming, shouting to his players, stay up, be there, stretch the game.
Bala, wide for the Brazilian. Alexandro drives on Komovic, who got a touch. Vecino maybe had a little bit better chance to find a teammate, but just blasted upfield. Poor effort from Barzagli. Straight to Teo. Teo again on the break for Bernardeschi. The Fiorentina youth product up for Kalinic. Bundled over by Chiellini, but it was shoulder to shoulder. And a smart play by the veteran.
Very soft from Kalinic. He probably should have tried to control and hold the ball, waiting to get some help from the back. If you just go in that way, waiting for Chiellini to do one foul in the box.
And again, kind of use that as a bookend to what we saw in the first half with Paulo Dybala, where he knew the contact was coming, but he initiated it and ended up getting the foul call. Kalinic just seemed to be a willing participant.
Yeah. Bit of a symbol of how Fiorentina is a participant all along the pitch. Hernanes also warming up. I might be wrong, obviously. I don't feel like Allegri would play him in place of Lemina or someone. I'm still doing good.
Again, the one thing in Serie A, in an effort to, I guess, make it more difficult to even think about a fix, there are more substitutes than there are starters. So plenty of options for Allegri and Sousa. Dybala's frantic running on that far side, helping to win it back on a throw. Giuseppe Rossi already breaking a sweat. Dybala switches over. Alexandro. With so much talent on the bench, proven talent, players like Alexandro need to make the most of every chance in the 90. Poor touch by Alves, deflects away.
5 against 1.
Ilicic, Bernardeschi looking for the angle, but as you point out, how quickly Juve comes back and puts numbers around the ball.
just
Teo
impossible.
stripped.
They wanted to try the counter-attack. Kalinic was behind the midfield line. You have to bring up the ball 1 against 5. And we're talking about Kalinic, not Salah, Gervinho, not exactly the counter player. The others very slow to come from behind to help him, but especially the ability of Juventus to recover the position so quickly, not leaving any space, and there is only half an hour still staying of this game.
Talk about the transfers that have been brought in, and it's not that Fiorentina have been quiet, but defender in Di Maio, and that wasn't even done until yesterday, I believe. Over to the far side, Dybala, overlap for Alves, pops it in the air. Alexandro and Mandzukic looking for it, cleared away. Well, maybe a chance up for Kalinic. Tripped up. The ball free, no foul, says the ref. Bilic, a defender. Bring in another defender from Holland and Kevin Deeks, a goalkeeper, and a lot of young midfielders. No one really to fill the shoes of the departed Mario Gomez. Maybe hoping that for once Giuseppe Rossi will stay healthy.
The only good thing, as you mentioned, for Fiorentina is that 28 minutes to go and only 1 year.
Perisic presses it wide. Bernardeschi against Barzagli. Into the area, the youngster still holds on, but doubled down by Alves. And he sneaks the pass through, but Badel was there.
And if Fiorentina has been lucky enough to still be alive in spite of playing nothing so far, so why not bringing on Giuseppe Rossi? If you are playing like that, just transition and very hard transition, why not Giuseppe Rossi?
And if you want more possession, why not Amati Fernandez? They do have some weapons in reserve. Nice from Dybala, pops up on Asamoah. Returns a bad bounce into a good break.
Maybe having the perspective of more responsibility helped Asamoah to be more confident, seeing that there was no Pogba ahead of him. As we said, Vidal obviously already left 1 year ago. Although not Giuseppe Rossi, but Carlos Sanchez is ready to come in.
Sanchez, the Colombian by way of Uruguay, on loan from Aston Villa. Normally you'd imagine that would be for Badel, but Vecino carrying a caution. So a decision for Sosa to make. Skips away from Bernardeschi.
It's one of those decisions when you actually want to be conservative about the result. Fiorentina have to shake the situation. Have to do it with someone that can offer them something more offensively. It's pretty easy because they've done nothing offensively.
And the hands tied a bit by the decision to start Chiesa, burning that substitution to stick Teo in to start this second half. So after this switch, it will only be one. He's going to roll the dice. Vecino, perhaps more the attacking option. He'll leave him out there with the caution, and it will be a straight swap. Sanchez for Badel. 30-year-old Colombian. Spent some time in Uruguay, as we mentioned, in France with Valenciennes, Spain with Elche, England with Aston. He's punched the passport quite a bit.
Yeah, it reminds me of my years of Erasmus in university. But he probably was not lucky in the club that he signed for in Premier League, because to be honest, Aston Villa don't help you to shine.
Let's see. Looks like a bit of a spark. An effort by Alves to win it. Here is Sanchez. He's got a good shot. Doesn't use it all the time, but it is a weapon. Teo on his left, chipping it to nowhere. Almost touched back by Lemina. Chiellini was ready. Alexandro running out of real estate and lands awkwardly on the sideline.
There are 7 Juventus players against Fiorentina, and it just seemed helpless, the try that Teo did.
The rest of the world might have been waiting to see what happened with Paul Pogba, but from a Juventus perspective, they've been waiting to see this. Gonzalo Higuain. And Zukic out, Higuain in. The Capo Canonieri going to the champions. And he opened his account early.
We called that, because we said the only thing missing for the Juventus is closing this game. Close the game, maybe you need a better finisher and better than.
He's not shy about taking his chances. But right now, this is the best possession we've seen from Fiorentina. Trying to pin Juve back. One thing again, deceptively with Juventus. They're quite content with a 1-0 lead to just hang around their own area as long as you don't get too close.
You hear that noise of punches against the wall? That probably was coming from Naples. Because one thing is knowing that Higuain moved to Juventus, but when you see your ex-girlfriend hanging around with your fiercest rival, that makes quite a reaction.
Sanchez tried to rip the shot through, deflected straight back to Fiorentina. Vecino and Sanchez. This should allow Bernardeschi and Alonso to push up even more in the attack. But really, it seems like Kalinic needs more help.
Although Sanchez shouted to Tomovic to just play the ball wide because there is always free on the other side. Marcos Alonso is having a bit of space, but the ball is just moving too slow. Now he's trying. Badly, but at least he's trying.
Oh, skips up, and apologies from Astori. Paulo Sousa learning a bit from this opening match. Will be able to at least walk away with a point as Lichtsteiner loosening up for Juve.
Maybe the only unhappy face that Juventus will see today. Lichtsteiner doesn't really have an easy character, and knowing that he won't start anymore, Dani Alves is ahead of him. He was already complaining. He hinted that he could leave Juventus. Maybe it's just too late to leave, but maybe the only unhappy face.
Well, you talk about Alves. The other question, and there are rumors that things could be coming to a close at Chelsea. Cuadrado's still out there.
Cuadrado's still out.
If that is the case, Lichtsteiner definitely might want to make sure the suitcase stays packed. Did show some versatility last year when Barzagli was out, slotting into that back three, but you'd figure even more so this season that might be Rugani's job. But it's a wealth of talent for Allegri.
Obviously, he's not a direct competitor, Cuadrado, for Lichtsteiner, because he's probably helping Allegri to switch the system with a 3-man up front. But that obviously is coming from your side, your winger. So, considering that Lichtsteiner is offensive, if Cuadrado will be playing, there is Dani Alves. When Cuadrado will be playing, there will be even less space, obviously, for the Swiss.
Bernardeschi out wide. Alonso. Bernardeschi slips. Alonso keeps possession. Sanchez tries to drive it in, drops it to the feet of Teo, gets around Alexandro, looking for Kalinic, but deflected at the last moment. That might have had equalizer written all over if it weren't for Bonucci.
Juventus aren't conceding so many chances like that, aren't doing really so much mistakes like that in a game, so you have to make the most of that. Teo was good enough in doing that. Kalinic wasn't ready. Again, why not to put a quick player like Giuseppe Rossi there in the middle?
Rossi spent the second half of last season on loan at Levante, could not save them in La Liga. Over to the back post, headed in, and Kalinic delayed, not denied, and Juventus pays the price for their wasteful finishing. It's 1-1 with 20 minutes left.
Now that is a surprise. The only real chance that Fiorentina had so far, and they not even got close to Buffon to Buffon goal, and it's a second mistake again from Alexandro. It was his fault on the corner kick considered when Tayo dribbled him, and this defending of Alexandro on Kalinic, although it shouldn't be Alexandro marking on Kalinic.
Should be one of the
kick.
BBC.
Yes, indeed.
Well, Kalinic from the corner, and with 20 minutes remaining, we are tied at 1 on the very first shot on target on the night for Fiorentina.
And now don't miss these last 20 minutes, because the 70 minutes have been everything easy for Juventus. There is a bit of a shock. Juventus bossing just all over the pitch. Now I want to see the reaction. There is Higuain in, so it's gonna be something close to the idea of Juventus, of what Juventus want to be this season if they want the title and the Champions League.
Kalinic offside. Ilicic with the corner, Kalinic with the finish. Still a sub left for Paulo Sousa. 2 wild cards left in the pocket for Allegri. Talked about the good first start last season for Kalinic. But the goals trickled to a close when they needed him at the end. Big Croatian, spending some time at Blackburn before moving to Ukraine for Dnipro, which is where he blossomed. Ended up with 12 goals last season for Fiorentina.
Fiorentina seem to have switched to 4-4-2 now to defend the goal. There is seems that Marcos Alonso is tracking back, and only Ilicic and Kalinic up front, with Ilicic obviously playing a bit behind Kalinic.
Tomovic with another look. Took it right on the crown, and maybe just a bit woozy as Alexandro tried to drive that one in. But finishing the thought on Kalinic, 12 goals last season. But Tancredi, 10 coming before Christmas, and none in the final month of the season.
So we can imagine that he enjoyed too much panettone in the 2 weeks of break, which I can't blame him, obviously.
Well, you better score a few more, otherwise Paulo Sousa might not be able to enjoy the panettone. Ba-dum-bum. 74th minute. And now if Tomovic is unable to continue, that takes a damper to Fiorentina's hopes, but right now they are going through at least a bit of the concussion protocol, making sure he's okay.
That's a key moment. Fiorentina with 10 men. One that is off is one of the 3 centre-back. They better stay tight. Juventus are great in making the most of these little breaks.
And again, they could conceivably drop Alonso back to a left-back position even tighter. Maybe Bernardeschi or Vecino helping out Chalo Rodriguez on the right side, but from Juventus perspective, blood in the water, and now's not a time for mercy. And they are going right at that spot, although Tomovic in, but behind the play. Asamoah finding Khedira, deflected, falls for Higuain, and the goal knocked home. A debut goal that might just be a winner, capping it off for Juve.
Fiorentina, you should listen to us. This was the moment when defending more tight with Tomovic out. Once again, Khedira in the box. Once again, that have break the balance between the attacking phase of Juventus and the defensive phase of Fiorentina. Left there alone, he could then take the attention from the Fiorentina defenders. Higuain finding the space. You just can't leave one player like that. And then the deflection, Higuain over there on the left. And we have seen a glimpse then of the Juventus tremendous comeback that could be in this season, having Higuain on the pitch.
On the field for just over 8 minutes, and he's already opened his account.
I wouldn't want to be in Naples in this moment, you know. Like everybody wishing him, oh, you see, He has had the pounds. He's not going to recover any soon. It will be hard for him. I wouldn't want to be in Naples at the moment.
And Napoli, of course, still have to be considered a Champions League contender. Something we haven't really talked about is Champions League. The reports coming out from our good buddy Gab Marcotti about the changes in UEFA to try and stymie some of the big clubs from splintering away. But it might be Italy that, I don't want to say pays the price, but at least ends up losing the way the story ends. Finally on the verge of passing England to grab a 4th spot as is, and England perhaps losing a berth.
Yeah, basically Italy and Germany would be the one taking the biggest advantage from the new changes, because would have a guaranteed 4th spot.
A guaranteed spot, but you almost might be winning it back anyway. England could be considered a benefactor that they would hold on even if they continue to stumble. Atrosano will start this one out. Reno and Milan will continue our Serie A coverage tomorrow just before noon Eastern. beInSports.com. The phone giving Alexandro something to deal with, and it forces the turnover. Bernardeschi pushed forward, tripped up by Dani Alves, and all of a sudden it seems as though Fiorentina finding a bit of a spark. If only they could have kept Higuain off the board.
Was really the Tomovic staying out that have made Fiorentina be unprepared for that action, because first Khedira was left alone, then Higuain was left alone on the deflection. It's like already one of those mistakes is pretty bad and unusual.
Still out there at the bottom of the screen, and he appears to be okay. Little clip to the heels, but realizing running out of time. Ilicic now tried to get through Chiellini. Good pressure forces the turnover from Asamoah. Bit of a gift. Theo. So good at crossing the ball, so good at driving on goal back in his early days at Barcelona. Haven't seen much of that yet. And forgot something along the way. Alexandro. Pressure. Winning it back. Quietly, even on the scoreboard in the first half. It's been a quiet game, but a good game for Khedira. Lemina. Slices in front of Sanchez. Wide for the German. Good run for Higuain, and he almost got a second. Still not done. Alexandro. Lemina. What a start that would have been.
It's very strange, because the same situation last year almost won the league to Higuain when he was playing for Napoli, and he had only that small chance, a ball coming from the right wing and saved, deflected at the very last second by Bonucci. Exactly the same way, with a flying tackle. Now got the Juventus shirt.
And you could see hands to face for Higuain, thinking what might have been.
Here it comes.
Well, the Azzurri from Jersey about to enter. Giuseppe Rossi will replace Josip Ilicic. Did well in his time at Levante and got some minutes that he wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Was not able to save the Valencian club from going down in La Liga, but it was enough to get him back in the good graces at Fiorentina.
Not sure that taking out Ilicic was the right thing to do. It's not that he has been brilliant, but even 1 minute ago we saw when he received the ball, it was the only one that, before giving it away, was thinking and looking around where to pass it, and still able to protect it from 3 Juventus players pressing him. So
now maybe it's a big gamble, but again, Vecino with the yellow card. Take out a holding mid, leave Ilicic out there. But is that too easy for Juventus?
it's 10 minutes to go, so
driven into the middle, just deflected away by the captain Rodriguez. Chiellini keeps it in play. tend to agree with you as he plays Teo for the tackle. Carlos Sanchez can cover a lot of real estate for 10 minutes. So why not keep the extra attacker out there?
And then again, you are losing by 1 goal. It's 10 minutes. You are already struggling in delivering the ball anywhere, and Ilicic is the one that can do it better than anybody else in your team.
Alexandro backs it down in the corner. Maybe time to get a little practical. Don't need a third, but Asamoah has a go. Left-footed shot deflects. Lemina with a nice ball, destined for the corner, but Tatarusanu pushes it around the post.
Staggering how easy Juventus can find the space, can find the goal. There's like no position till the edge of the box. And let's remind, they are playing at home, but not against Crotone, against, I don't know, with all the due respect, Sampdoria. It's against Fiorentina, which was the one putting the biggest threat to their ground in the past season.
An edge of the 6 flying in Alexandro, maybe trying to make up for his blunder that led to the Kalinic goal. Backfield from Higuain, and now Asamoah with time. Sends it high and far. Sanchez. And Dybala smartly lets it run as the clock continues to tick. We saw a little bit there on that shot from Lemina. As we said, he's more than just a pretty face.
Are you gonna throw in a comparison with Pogba?
He's got some of the skill, even if he doesn't show it as much. And then again, it's another nice weapon to have in the holster.
Definitely.
Plucked away from Marseille midway through last season.
Juventus got several offers from Lemina, but when Juventus are selling, there is always a reason why. They did it, well, with Pirlo because he gave up basically with European football. They did it with Vidal because to deal with his disciplinary situation was getting harder and harder. They did it with Pogba because he couldn't renounce to 145 million euros. Well,
it paid for the stadium.
Yes, it paid the stadium actually, but they wouldn't do it with Lemina. It's just too soon. Maybe the only thing that you can criticize for, the only signing for which you can criticize for Juventus is when they sold Coman last year. But to be honest, when Bayern came with 25 millions, everybody thought that someone got crazy among the Bavarians. They weren't, but everybody thought it was a good business to sell Coman for 25.
And still might prove, although did well at PSG, showed flashes with Juve. See what Ancelotti is able to do. It's Real and Barcelona stars exchanging pleasantries. Dybala will exit. Of course, his ex-Palermo mate, Franco Vasquez, making the move to Sevilla. It'll be interesting to see them tomorrow. The Argentine will be replaced by Patrice Evra.
No, I
expect
saw
Alexandro to push up and Evra to slot in at left back.
I saw Evra doing, I think he was doing the gesture of 4-3-3. So he playing as left back, obviously, but Dani Alves and Alexandro up front with Khedira, Lemina, and Asamoah. Maybe this is what he was saying.
And again, only about 5 minutes. Higuain pushing up. See if Fiorentina can solve the puzzle in the time remaining. Little changes like that change the angles, change the passing lanes. For Bernardeschi. Transfer Rossi over Kalinic. Evra with his first test. Teo brings it down to the goal line, drives it across, but Chiellini was there. Second chance for the Spaniard. Threads it in and almost driven home by Vecino, but his shot sails high. Good play by Theo.
It was a big danger. It was very well played by Theo. Once and twice, it wasn't easy at all to see Vecino in between all those Juventus legs. Juventus have switched to, seem to have switched at least to 4-5-1 with Evra more on the defense line and only Higuain up front.
Real Sociedad, that'll start tomorrow at 2, immediately followed by Atletico at home against Alaves, just after 4 Eastern time. So many questions the way La Liga will close out. Similar stories here in Serie A. Everyone thinking that Juventus a heavy favorite for their 6th straight title. Fiorentina showing that there might just be a vulnerability, though. And Roma earlier today showing that they might be the type that could take advantage of the big 4-0 win.
At least let us believe that.
For a couple of weeks. Of course, everyone thought Juve was dead and buried 10 weeks in last year. Buffon. Fiorentina finally turning the pressure up in the 87th minute. Paulo Sousa trying to move the pieces of the puzzle around. Asamoah gets around Chalo. Can't bring him down, does Rodriguez, but good pressure by Vecino and presence of mind to jump in front and draw the foul. Bit of time wasting, perhaps another substitute as Hernanes off the bench.
Coming from Lemina.
Khedira, the goal scorer.
Range. Anyway, seem to be kept till the end. Though the 88 minutes seems more like for wasting time. Asamoah dribbling Gonzalo Rodriguez even pretty easily. Rodriguez being one of the best centre-backs in the last season. Asamoah that had simply disappeared almost. Well, that tells a lot on the performance of Asamoah. And Juventus could have surprisingly find a starting player for the midfield that they just didn't thought to have anymore.
Still time in the transfer window, but not much. So maybe a chance to show Hernanes off, even if it is just for a few minutes. He's been one of those rumored to be on his way out. Inside for Carlos Sanchez. Even with these flurries in the second half, even with the goal from Kalinic, Paulo Sousa can't be pleased. Hernanes. Sai.
Actually, that goal that Fiorentina found would play against Paulo Sousa, because now the ownership could think, see, you actually have a team good enough to challenge Juventus that seems so better than you. But if we look at how the game has been, there has been only those around some 5 minutes from Fiorentina.
Hernanes lost the ball, and a panic swing around brings down Bernardeschi. 90th minute reached. Let me not just with a touch. You could see the cleats slid in the turf, and he might be hurt. Our man of the match, Gonzalo Higuain. 8 minutes in and already opening his account. Khedira up for consideration as well with a goal and the shot that led to this.
Say Khedira, I would say also Asamoah.
Bayo caressing that one nicely. Kalinic. Is there still time? Giuseppe Rossi opens up. Now Sanchez. Sloppy pass.
Couldn't receive not even one ball, Giuseppe Rossi. The only one he could play was when he tracked back something like
Asamoah again. Ooh. Tomovic flying in, cleats extended, and the card already out. Alexandro paying the price. And even worse for Fiorentina, the ball stops.
Did he get away lucky, getting only a yellow card?
Cleat, well, he pulls out at the last moment. Paulo Sousa not screaming at the referee there, screaming more to Tomovic. Juve bleeding the clock, and part of the 5 added minutes already trickling away. Bellini for Evra. Lets it run. Smart from Tomovic this time. I mentioned Juventus taking on Lazio in Rome next weekend. Fiorentina will open their home campaign a week from tomorrow against Chievo.
Start for Juventus is very tough. Fiorentina at home, traveling to Lazio, then Sassuolo at home, and Sassuolo has started the season before anybody else for the preliminary rounds of Europa League.
Kicked over everyone.
And then Inter Juve on September 18th. Allegri knows that this start could change a lot, because if he wants to succeed in Champions League, it will be better to close the Serie A task as soon as possible, and so not wasting these points.
Normally you'd think Sassuolo would be a bit of a breather, but they might be one of the toughest of that opening 5. Mentioned a 3-0 win against Red Star in European play. Then things get just a bit easier. Cagliari, Palermo, Empoli, Udinese before the showdown at Milan in October. Rossi headed in the wrong direction. Clash of 22s.
This is an experienced foul. Actually, Asamoah didn't seem to do anything bad, but Rossi was good enough to protect the ball, the body, and to make it look like he was receiving a foul.
18 shots to 4. Despite the 18 shots for Juve, just 3 on target. Perhaps fortunate that 2 have gone in. The line at the top of the 18. Buffon near the top of his 6. Bernardeschi sending it to the back post for Alonso. Soaring in the air, Barzagli, and he draws the foul in the process. Brilliant play from the veteran defender.
Marcos Alonso shouted, "Ma che fallo è?" What the kind of foul is this? And actually he's right. As we said about Giuseppe Rossi, it took an experienced foul. This one, Barzagli, was a very senior foul. But how badly Bernardeschi took that free kick?
There's no chance. 94th minute. Khedira scoring 8 minutes before the break. Midway through the second, Kalinic equalized on the first shot on goal. Dani Alves making his presence felt. Khedira almost had a second, but it was deflected, but right into the path of Gonzalo Higuain as his first shot finds pay dirt. Alves renews his rivalry with Carlos Sanchez. Last minute, last gasp. Vecino headed in the wrong direction. Pedrosano. Gonzalo. And a panic pass and a smart play by Alves as Juve continues to watch the sand.
As you said, it's 8 years since Fiorentina not beating Juventus at home, but barely I remember a more frustrating performance, even if the score sheet is only 2-1. We will have to understand if it is everything merit of Juventus or a lot of fault from Fiorentina.
Alexandro dribbling in towards the area, back for Lemina, has a goal and tries to caress it in. Slapped wide by Tatarusano. Juve doesn't need a third goal. In fact, you could argue it would have been better just to play this one out, but they will get the corner and time should run out, as it has. Kalinic with the goal that gave Fiorentina hope, but sandwiched in beside Khedira and Higuain. 2-1 Juve, the final.
It's incredible the way that Juventus have feeling comfortable for the 90 minutes. That goal could only be a little alarm, but nothing to worry about.
It is a great love story for those in Turin. Hearts broken by Fiorentina. Juventus also damaging a few in Napoli in the process. Take a look at the round one